You were taught that the era of grand archaeological discovery ended over a century ago. You were told that every square inch of our planet has been mapped, scanned, and cataloged by global satellite networks. You were lied to. In October 2024, a PhD student at Tulane University named Luke Auld Thomas was performing a routine Google search, browsing the second page of results for environmental data from a 2013 forest survey in Campeche, Mexico. He wasn't looking for ancient ruins. He was looking for a study on carbon sequestration in trees. But, hidden inside a forgotten laser sonar survey conducted by a Mexican environmental firm, he didn't find a forest. He found a ghost. Deep beneath the dense, emerald shroud of the Yucatan jungle, the survey data revealed a massive, hidden Maya megapolis that had remained invisible to the modern world for over 1,000 years. They named it Valeriana. This wasn't just a simple village or a remote outpost. It was an urban behemoth, the size of Edinburgh, packed with over 6,000 individual structures. Look at the high-resolution LiDAR scans. You are seeing towering pyramids that once reached for the stars, grand stone plazas where tens of thousands once gathered, and complex water management systems that prove this civilization was far more advanced than our history books are willing to admit. But how could a city of this magnitude, a city that would have been a buzzing hive of trade and politics, simply vanish from the map without a single mention in the known Maya codices? The technology used to pull this ghost into the light is called LiDAR, light detection and ranging. By firing millions of laser pulses from an aircraft through the impenetrable canopy, scientists can digitally erase the trees and see the ground as it looked a millennium ago. What they uncovered was a landscape that had been completely engineered: terraced hillsides, massive stone dams that controlled entire river systems, and elevated highways connecting vast neighborhoods. Why did tens of thousands of people abandon this architectural masterpiece in a single generation? As we peel back the green skin of the jungle, we are realizing that we are not looking at a graveyard, but a time capsule. The architecture we are seeing in the central temple complex defies the traditional Maya timeline, suggesting that the rise and fall of their civilization was far more volatile and technologically complex than we ever imagined. Official archaeology is currently scrambling to update its maps, but the question remains: if a city the size of a modern capital can hide in plain sight for 1,000 years, what else is resting beneath the canopy of our forgotten world? The jungle is finally giving up its secrets, one laser pulse at a time. The truth remains beneath the shroud. Once you look past the initial shock of Valeriana's size, the true mystery begins to emerge from the shadows of the limestone. We have been taught to view the ancient Maya as a collection of city-states struggling against a hostile environment. But the LiDAR scans of Valeriana reveal a civilization that didn't just survive the jungle. They mastered it with the precision of a modern urban planner. Look at the satellite data covering the outskirts of the central plazas. This isn't just a collection of temples. It is a sprawling, high-density residential network. Thousands of family compounds are connected by a sophisticated system of Sacbeob, elevated stone highways that kept trade and people moving above the mud and water of the tropical floor. This wasn't a primitive culture. It was a highly organized social machine that supported a population of up to 50,000 people in a region we previously thought was uninhabitable. But the real genius of Valeriana is hidden in its water. In the lowlands, researchers discovered a gargantuan network of man-made reservoirs and stone dams. The Maya engineers transformed the natural depressions of the landscape, known as bajos, into massive cisterns that could hold millions of gallons of water. This was a survival necessity for a city that faced months of brutal drought every year. Even more incredible are the agricultural terraces. Every hillside around Valeriana was meticulously carved into stone steps to prevent erosion and maximize food production. They turned the entire landscape into a giant, vertical farm. This level of environmental engineering suggests a long-term stability that contradicts the narrative of a fragile society. However, as we zoom in on the masonry, we find anomalies. Some of the largest stone blocks in the reservoirs are cut with a precision that defies simple copper tools. They are fitted so tightly that even a millennium of jungle growth has not been able to separate them. How did they move and place these multi-ton blocks in the middle of a swamp? Why did such a perfectly engineered system ultimately fail? The stones are still in place, holding back 1,000 years of secrets. For centuries, Valeriana was a masterpiece of human organization, a place where water and stone were bent to the will of its leaders. But as we look closer at the high-resolution LiDAR imagery, we find a story not of triumph, but of a desperate, final struggle. In the later layers of the city's construction, the symmetry begins to break. The grand plazas are suddenly interrupted by crudely built stone walls, defensive palisades that suggest the citizens were no longer worried about aesthetics, but about survival. What was the threat? Official history points to a prolonged megadrought that gripped the Yucatan Peninsula in the 9th century. But the sediment samples from the central reservoirs tell a more complex story. The water didn't just disappear, the system was overwhelmed. Look at the LiDAR scans of the great dams. We see massive breach points that weren't caused by time or erosion, but by a sudden, catastrophic volume of water that the engineered canals were never designed to handle. It seems the very system that allowed Valeriana to thrive became its executioner. As the climate shifted, the city faced a lethal paradox. Months of bone-dry dust, followed by violent, unpredictable floods that turned the engineered bajos into churning traps of mud and debris. But the most haunting discovery is the unfinished state of the city. In the northern districts, LiDAR revealed half-built pyramids and stone blocks left exactly where they were being carved. It's as if 10,000 people simply dropped their tools and walked away into the green void. No signs of a mass grave, no evidence of a battlefield, just a sudden, echoing silence. Some researchers speculate that the population didn't just perish, they transformed, scattering into smaller groups and taking their secret engineering knowledge with them. But where did they go? And why did they leave behind their most sacred jade and obsidian treasures, resting in the ash of silent temples? The jungle didn't conquer Valeriana. It merely reclaimed what was already a ghost. As the modern world prepares for the first physical excavation of the site, we are realizing that the collapse of the Maya was not a slow fade, but a sudden fracture. You might wonder why a region of the Mexican jungle, previously dismissed by every map as an empty, prehistoric wasteland, has suddenly become a strictly enforced military no-fly zone. While the public is being fed stories about a historical triumph of archaeological mapping, the true power players are moving in under the cover of artificial sandstorms and localized weather manipulation. Since late 2024, unmarked, matte black transport planes have been tracked by private satellites, landing at midnight on clandestine dirt strips carved deep into the Campeche forest. This isn't just an excavation for pottery and jade. Reliable intelligence leaks suggest that the high-resolution LiDAR scans didn't just find stone, they found a technological signature. Deep beneath the foundation of Valeriana's central pyramid, specialized thermal sensors have detected a massive, geometric heat source that pulses in a rhythmic, low-frequency cycle. Private corporations are no longer looking for history. They are looking for the source code of an ancient energy network that allowed a city of 50,000 to thrive in a hostile, waterless environment for 1,000 years. Look at the high security, reinforced fencing now surrounding the main plazas. These barriers aren't there to protect ruins from looters. They are there to hide the extraction of a legacy we are not supposed to understand. Private military contractors are guarding drilling operations that have already reached depths of 500 feet. They are pulling up core samples that contain microscopic traces of refined, high-conductivity metals, alloys that, according to our history books, should not exist for another millennium after the Maya collapse. The engineered jungle we see on the surface was merely the camouflage. Beneath Valeriana lies a databank of prehistoric physics that could rewrite the global energy future. Why is the official narrative still clinging to a simple drought as the cause of their disappearance? Because the truth is far more dangerous to the status quo. They are stripping the city of its true wealth, one frequency at a time. The jungle is no longer silent. The heavy hydraulic machinery of the modern world is grinding against the sacred, engineered limestone of the past. Valeriana is not a dead city. It is a dormant machine that has just been jump-started by the very people who claim to be studying it. Follow the evidence. Question the silence. Subscribe to the Leviathan Files and join the hunt for what they are desperate to hide. Stay away from the restricted sectors. The truth remains beneath the canopy.